So, most people will tell you that the feeling of being found out at work is just imposter syndrome. They'll tell you to do the inner work and build your confidence. But many of us, especially Black professionals and institutions not built for us, that diagnosis is wrong. And when the diagnosis is wrong, the treatment can't fix the problem. For 25 years, I worked inside these systems. And I'm here to give you a reframe that will give you your energy back. You know you can use it this time of the year, right? As you wind down. In this video, I'm going to show you why what you're feeling isn't a flaw in you. It's a feature in the system that you work in. So let's start with what imposter syndrome actually is, because the term is thrown around a lot. See my notes. It was first named in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. They described it as an internal experience of believing that you're not as competent as others perceive you to be, and living in fear of being exposed as a fraud. And here's the thing, it's real. The feelings are real. The anxiety is real. The exhaustion of managing it is absolutely real. But the framework was originally developed studying high-achieving white women in academia. And somewhere along the way, it became the default explanation handed to Black professionals when we described feeling out of place in predominantly white institutions. We were told, that's just imposter syndrome. Do the inner work. Build your confidence. And I want to be clear. Inner work matters, for sure. I believe in it deeply. And have done my own and continue to do it every day. And when the diagnosis is wrong, the treatment can't fix the problem, as I said before. Here's what imposter syndrome as a framework asked you to do. It asks you to look inward, to fix your thinking, to tell yourself you belong until you believe it. But what if the building was never designed to make you feel like you belonged? What if the culture was built for someone who looks different, who sounds different, comes from a different tradition, and you've been spending your energy trying to fit into an architecture that was never drawn with you in mind? This is not a confidence problem. This is a design problem. So there's actually a term for what many of us experience that's more accurate, and it's called race-based imposter phenomenon. And researchers like Dr. Kevin Coakley at the University of Michigan have studied it specifically in Black professionals. The finding: the feelings aren't coming from inside of us in a vacuum. They're responding to real external cues, microaggressions, exclusions, hypervisibility, and a constant low-grade message that we are the exception, not the expectation. You're not imagining it. You're reading the room correctly. So let me talk about independent schools, right? Because that's the world I lived in for 25 years, and it is a very particular culture. These are institutions built on tradition, on legacy, and on the idea that excellence looks a certain way, sounds a certain way, and was educated a certain way. I guess stories about my personal education, how I got to where I am, and it does not fit into the box, right? And when you walk in as a Black educator, often one of very few, sometimes the only one in your department, sometimes the only one on the admin team, you're walking into a space that has centuries of identities baked into its walls. And the system does specific things that produce the feeling that we call imposter syndrome. It makes you hyper visible when something goes wrong and invisible when credit is given. It asks you to be a spokesperson for your entire race while also performing in a neutral way. I'm not trying to use that big neutrality, being neutral. It puts the DEI work on your desk, whether that's your job title or not. And according to NAIS data, 61% of DEI practitioners in independent schools are the sole DEI person at their school, which means they're doing that work largely alone. I did it for a long time by myself. I can remember one time having a head of school say to me that I used the word "I" a lot when I was doing my if I was sharing content with with my colleagues or whatever. I built this, I did this, and they said to me that I needed to use "we" more frequently. And I looked around like, who is we? I don't understand when I'm the only one in here in my office. So there was a subtle cue there that as I think back on it, I think, okay, I didn't understand what he was saying to me, what they were saying to me, which made is that my problem or their problem? I don't know. So when you're exhausted from all of that, when you feel like you're constantly translating yourself, constantly advocating for students who look like you while also fighting for your own seat at the table, the system has a ready explanation waiting. Maybe you're just not confident enough. Nope. That's not the answer. What you're experiencing has a name, and the name is not imposter syndrome. Okay, so if the diagnosis is wrong, what's the right one? I want to offer you this reframe: forewarned and forearmed, right? What if instead of "I don't belong here," the story became, "I can see this system clearly, and I understand how it operates, and that clarity is my advantage." Right? Cheat codes for you gamers out there. Because here's what I've watched happen to Black educators and professionals who make it, survive, make it all the way up to the top, blah, 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 and they're thriving. And I mean, really make it on their own terms. There are some of them. They stop trying to belong in the institution and they start understanding it. They stop asking, "Why don't they see me?" And they start asking, "What are the rules of this particular game? Who wrote them? And where do I have leverage?" That's not cynicism, it's strategy. And that shift from internalizing to externalizing changes everything about how you show up. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking in meetings. You stop over explaining your credentials to people who never had to explain theirs. And you start building relationships strategically, building documentation, building your legacy on your own terms. You're not driving in someone else's lane anymore, trying to keep up with traffic that was never meant to include you. You're in your own lane. See what I did there? And you know exactly where you're going. So when you stop internalizing what is external, a few things start to shift. You start to separate your worth from your workplace. The school's dysfunction is not a reflection of your inadequacy. You start to seek community because you understand that isolation is part of how a system keeps us stuck. When you can't talk to each other, when you can't compare notes, that hit. When you can't talk to each other, when you can't compare notes, and when you can't compare notes, we each think the problem is uniquely ours. It's not uniquely yours. So according to Index Group, the Index Group's data says that teachers of color leave independent schools at a rate 13.5% compared to 9.8% overall. That gap is not a coincidence. It's a pattern, and the patterns have causes. And when you name the cause correctly, when you stop blaming yourself for a systemic experience, you get your energy back. That energy to fight, it's not energy to fight. It's energy to build. It's energy to stay on your own terms or to leave on your own terms. Energy to mentor the person coming up behind you. Energy to do the work that you actually came to do. So you're not an imposter. You're a pioneer in a space that didn't plan for you. And there's a profound difference. If this landed for you today, if this video named the weight you've been carrying, I want you to know that you don't have to navigate the system alone. I built a free community called Our Own Lane as a place where you don't have to explain the culture from scratch. It's the room where the shared context is already waiting for you. The on-ramp is free. The link is in the description. Come join us. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button because we have a lot more to do and a lot more to talk about. I'll see you next week.